to this study session of the Aspen Peaks Board of Education. Today is Thursday, January 29th, 2026, and the time is 4:01 p.m. We are meeting at the Alpine School District offices, and all board members are present except for Jason Feeler, who will be here shortly. Our first agenda item is a welcome to our new superintendent, Joel Perkins, in his Alpine School District role. He was over district calendars, so he's going to talk with us for a few minutes and also give us some insights as we consider changes for the 2028 to 29 and the 2029 to 2030 district calendars. So we'll turn the time over to Joel.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. First thing I want to say is it is Board Member Recognition Month. And I want to recognize you all. Thank you for this opportunity.
We've been doing such a good job for so long.
Hey, you know what? We deserve a little bit for this.
Absolutely. No, I think you should, because the reality is that the fact that you're willing to take on this project says something about each and every one. This is not for the faint of heart, and so we appreciate your willingness to come in and help to create a new district. So thank you for your efforts. Thanks. Appreciate you all, and thank you for the big parties that you've thrown for me. That's enough parties for me for the rest of the time.
It's your turn to throw one for
thank
us.
you. That's right. We will work on a party for you.
I bet we would all like to crawl under the rock for a little while.
Yeah, just
How about you
maybe.
plan on
Yeah.
don't recognize any of us for a while?
Yeah, I like it. Let's see. The second Monday in February. Everybody just take it easy.
Okay.
Don't do any
Oh,
work
yeah.
on
It's
that.
my daughter's birthday.
Oh shoot! You don't even get that. Okay, so with that, and again, great appreciation. That was it's been a fun few days, and I appreciate that. I am happy today to talk a little bit about the calendar. I listened to the last board meeting when there was some discussion about it, and I thought, you know what, it'd be really helpful maybe for me to give some context to how we go about the process, why it is where it is, and then I know you talked about some data, and I don't know if you realize, but that data that we have is actually sorted by area as well, and so we can show you a little bit of the data that addresses why you're hearing some of the things you're hearing, right? And why, because the data is slightly different for the different districts, and the one area specifically that it is different, we'll talk about. I know Nikki's already talked about that as well. Board Member Brown has already talked about that as well. So want to jump in and kind of give you an overview a little bit with how we go about building the calendar. So I'm going to go on the screen for just a second. And I'll show you and again, I know that you have the basics of what it looked like. We had representation in each of the different areas, from employees, from students, from administrators, as well as parents from each of the different areas. And so we came together, and really this was the premise that we establish as we walk in and we talk through. The first thing we talk about is the school calendar is 180 days. Sometimes there's a lot of confusion right now about what is in fact in code, what is board rule, and how long does a school year have to be. 180 days is still non-negotiable. That is by code, but there is some details that you need to understand.
Instructional days, right?
Correct. 180 instructional days, but there are some qualifiers that we'll explain in just a minute. You'll often hear about the 990. You've heard that before. Anybody heard that before? 990 is the hour requirement that previously existed prior to COVID in Utah. The hour requirements have thankfully moved away. There's been a lot more conversation about competency, which is an exciting conversation. And so that 990 component, the hours is not up, but still every year for the last 3, I get emails every year saying, we don't have enough hours, you're not getting enough seat time hours, you're not meeting the requirements. And so then we go in and we try to explain. That link right there, I know you all have copies of this, right? That link is a pretty good document to ever try to explain some of the changes that we've seen in the last 5 years, really, but with regard to how long students need to be in school. Now, code allows us some flexibility as we define instructional days. So code actually allows up to 3 days that can be counted for compensation for parent-teacher conference day and back-to-school activities. In Alpine, we have traditionally only used 2 of those days. There's a trade-off that we do with our teachers for the time that's required. But so we use 2 days typically, and those are usually placed the day prior to Thanksgiving and the day, the first day of spring break. That's where it's traditionally been placed in ASD. And so as we met to discuss these calendars, those were placed in that location. And the code also allows us to count 4 days as what we call in Alpine teacher work days. They can also be designated for professional development days, but our teachers love this prep time, and it's written in the code that it can be used. And so as you're looking at days, you think 180 instructional days, but 2 of those are traditionally used for parent-teacher. We call them parent-teacher conference calm days. And then we recently, since 2021, we started to implement these teacher work days into the calendar. So they count as part of the 180. And that's important to know, because as we place them in, as you build calendars, you are literally counting every single day. And you need to know where to count them. The next thing we talk about is to be aware is that we use a 180-day teacher contract. So in addition to the 180 instructional days, we insert into the calendar that is the school year 3 professional days, 1 before the day or before school begins, and 2 are placed strategically, 1 in the fall and 1 in the spring, to allow touch points for us to continue to help support learning for teachers. And then there are also 2 additional days that are placed at the front of the calendar around that time for teachers to get things ready into their schedules. Does that make sense? Everybody so I know that that's probably remedial level, but I want to make sure everybody has that comprehension as we move forward. Then we give the committee these considerations. And again, this is all because this was Alpine School District Committee, this is the traditional things that we put in place as we start the conversation. The next things we say is it has been our experience that it is best to avoid a 5-day first week of school, because for teachers, for families, for kids, it's just rough that first week transition. So we usually try to do a 3 or a 4 day. And then we have these components that we also put in place previously. First term ends by fall break. At fall break, first term ends. At the winter break is when second term ends. And we moved to that about 7 years ago. The reason for that is, I know, remember Bonner talked about a little bit about this previously. Without a doubt, term 2 had the most failing rates because when we ended that first week or 2 into January, kids would put off stuff till the holidays and they forget stuff and they don't submit stuff, and so there was a lot of remediation that was happening. Plus, everyone has loved, I'd say everyone that I've ever talked to, teachers, students, parents have loved ending at Christmas or at that winter break, so that everyone can just let things go for a couple of weeks. They're not worried about carrying over grades or slipping in homework and all those kind of projects and things.
Beth, I would say for me, my big kids were on the schedule that Christmas break, that the term ended after Christmas break, and it was the pits. Because it was like every teacher would assign some major project over the 2 weeks. And we spent the whole 2 weeks doing homework. And or they were like playing catch up for anything they hadn't gotten done, or I hated it. It was really.
And I've talked to especially secondary teachers who are like, I hate that I have.
It wasn't
have that
so
looming
bad
over my head.
because elementary at the time was on the trimester, so it didn't really affect elementary, but in secondary it was the worst.
So that's the criteria that we give the committee. And then the last thing we always indicate is it is better for retirement purposes for teachers if we end prior to the beginning of June.
And can you explain that? Because I've
Yes.
had people ask, and I'm like,
I can't.
I can't.
So when we end in May, then they are eligible for their pension immediately. So the July 1, they receive their first pension check. If we end on June 3rd, then they don't receive until the middle of June their first check, and that pension is lost to them. And so from a teacher lens, from the working with our Teachers Association, their request is please don't have it be a financial burden to us because we push the day into June. So that's that purposes. Any questions on that? Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. So now is if I'm controlling my screen. Now. As we look at the survey results, this is one of those key differences that I was talking about, and we'll highlight in just a second. When we look at all three of the areas, so as Alpine District as a whole, the number one priority was the extended winter break, 2 full weeks and 3 weekends. Ending school before Memorial Day was the second one, and the third was a full week for spring break, and then it was start school as late as possible in August, and then have terms and semesters equal in length as close as possible. So if we look at the actual results from the data, it breaks it down a little more clearly. Let's see if I can get a little bit bigger. On where some of the differences lie, and this is, oh goodness. So as you look here on the criteria, so the number is where it fell in the ranking of those things of importance. So when you look at all category, that was all of ASD. The number one thing was have the long winter break, and so that was the criteria that was used when we created these calendars. Board Member Bonner, did you have a question?
Yeah, is this broken out into type of respondent, like teacher, parent, student
Yes.
also? Okay.
It is. And so then if you look at this, there are some differences as you start to look across the board. In Central, so at the time Central, now Aspen Peaks, the number one criteria was start school as late as possible. And so that's why many of you are probably hearing that feedback quite a bit, right? There were, I believe, let's see, I have the breakdown here as we go down further. I think it's about 8,700 respondents from the Aspen Peaks area.
And can I just point out, this was done January 2025 before we started August 13th, earlier than we've ever started before. And so that sentiment has only amplified because we
It
started.
depends on the area, because I have seen it on your post, but my area still is like, we need.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, I
have-
mean, this is saying that was our number one thing for Central.
Sure, for sure. And so as you look at this data, you can see why some of you are hearing what you're hearing. And so that, I mean, we have to take it and say that it is what it is. We have this information. What was built was built on those things. Some of the challenges that you'll find is every single one of that criteria and every single one of the other criteria that exist and the impact and the wants and needs of individuals with the calendar are all in competition with each other. And so it really does become this game of how do we try to help everyone to receive, but if we do this, it means we can't do this, right? And so that starts to be a little of the complication. So as we look at, as we go through that process, I'm gonna go back to here. We give the committee that information from the beginning, and then we start to build calendars. When you build, the order of operations is in the order that I listed here on the rationale. The first thing we do is we place the winter break, and we determine where do we place the winter break so that we can, again, looking at primary goals, how do you have 2 full weeks and 3 weekends? One of the priorities of that, and depending on where the placement of Christmas Day falls, impacts those schedules quite a bit. So we place those, and then we start to work backwards. We say, okay, well, where is fall break going to be? And then we start to define the terms, and you do that by starting to count days and all those other details. And I don't need to go any further into the detail of what goes on as we build it. But as you look at these calendars, and as I listened to the conversation from the last board meeting, it seemed that, understandably so, that some of the big concerns were with the 28, 29, and 29, 30 calendars. Now, the recommendation of the committee for the 3 years was very intentional. And the purpose for that was we have a lot of teachers who are not currently or will not be aligned with their students. A lot of our teachers live in this district, their students, and they teach in a different district. And so really the sentiment was here, as we move into this transition, can we create enough stability by adopting 3 calendars moving forward so that either teachers can sync with their own kids eventually, whether that's be by changing locations or whatever, or they can simply adjust to the fact that they're not going to always align perfectly. So that was the reason for the 3-year recommendation. Now, as you look at these 2 years specifically, if you want a copy, I have a copy. Does everybody have a copy? Okay, let's give a copy. They're printed larger because I can't read smaller even with multifocal content. So,
We're all getting old, it's fun.
I'm already there.
Would
Okay.
any of you like
There you go.
back there? Doug, you need one? It's big print. It's big.
Okay. I actually have a couple others too. If we need more.
I just didn't know if your eyes were bad.
So as you look at this calendar, granted there are some current concerns that become tricky. Right now, I think the first one we should probably address is the placement of the teacher work days. Now, teacher work days are remember, they count as part of the instructional days. It's important to remember that. And the placement of them is very intentional. The committee all love the teacher work day after the break.
Oh.
Everybody loves the
Everyone
work day
talks
after
about
the
it.
break.
Everyone.
That's the biggest comment that I've received, and I'm confident that you've heard the
Yes.
same. As I look at these current calendars, there are some options that we could look at to address or to adjust and create that to solve that concern. It doesn't solve all the concerns, and I think it would be of value or benefit. I know that everyone's okay or seems to be okay with 27, 28. It's really the 29, 20, and I recognize that the beginning of school conversation is one that would be probably worth taking back out, doing some additional survey results to find out, because everybody wants to start later, but if it's hinging on we start later but you only get a week and a half for Christmas, that may change their conversations, right? But certain things are kind of set, but it would be valuable to have that kind of feedback,
Definitely.
for sure, and I think we definitely want to look at those things. But the placement, the concern about not having a work day after the Christmas break could be an easy fix, as we'll talk through some stuff. The 22nd, the day the pink days are the work days. So if you look at December 22nd, that was designated as a teacher work day with the intention that it be the flexible day. And the reason for that was because we were just coming up so close up until Christmas Day that people felt like if we do a minimal day and then we do the Friday, if they want to work that day, they could. If they want to work it on a different day and work it out with their supervisor, they could do that. If they wanted to take one of their, because they do have several personal days at no dock, they could take that personal day, and then they could take care of the things that they needed to take care of prior to Christmas if they felt like they wanted more time.
Joel, as
Yes,
a
ma'am.
teacher, I remember secondary had the last day of the term to enter grades, but we were on trimesters elementary, so we didn't have that. But then when we all went to semesters, I thought that last day of the term was so you could enter grades or whatever, because some of the
It used to
feedback. So it used to be, so I'm remembering that
So
correctly,
the-
that some of the
The
feedback.
day that has the triangle in
Is
it
a
Is
is the
that
minimal
day?
day, and
That
that's
is-
the
and
day
that's
that
the day
grades
that
They
are
go for like 2.5 hours, not very
Okay.
long.
Yeah.
Okay, I
So
get
the only
that.
purpose for the placement of the 22nd was to try to create space for teachers prior, so that it wasn't just like, okay, you teach up until, and then you have Sunday, and then it's Christmas.
I remember last time it was on a Monday, everyone was complaining that they had.
Yes,
Okay,
and
there-
so that's the
So
tricky
here's
part.
another thought.
Yes.
People have made comments that when it's that day, instead of the first day back, they don't have class lists on the secondary level, they don't have any of their Canvas stuff, they don't have all of that stuff, so they can't take care of what they would have in the
Correct.
January day. They're using that there, but if you take it away in December, anyway, let's just
So,
talk.
yeah, we could certainly, I mean, if you remove, that's an instructional day. So if you don't make it a teacher day, then it becomes, that would need to be the minimal day.
Yeah.
And so
It would have
it would have to be that, so
Okay.
shift the calendar
Have
that
enough
direction.
calendar
Or
days.
else we don't have enough days.
So that could be done, and the reality is no one is ever happy entirely with the calendars we create. So that's something that we have, but that's an option. Another option that could be an option that could solve that is we could take the February 9th teacher workday. You could move the February 9th teacher workday to be on January 8th.
Which the teachers are used to having that right after parent-teacher conferences.
Exactly.
For elementary kids.
And that's why it's placed where it's placed.
Yes.
Typically, we place it next, or we tie it to the President's Day weekend.
Yeah.
So for families, they can extend that weekend. For teachers, they can have a shorter teaching week because it is parent-teacher conference. But
These
in
two,
this one,
it's not. Those
It's
two
not
years,
like
it's
that in
not.
these
Because
two.
it's Valentine's.
but because it's Valentine's Day on the 14th, we don't, so the window for parent-teachers slides up a week.
I always feel like building the calendar is
Because-
like trying to do a puzzle in the
Correct.
back of a truck as you're driving down the road. There's just like, oh wait, that piece just went to the wrong section.
Correct. And so, it could be done, we could move it, it would mean no but it's possible that our teachers would prefer to have that teacher work day on the 8th, even if it meant that they had to teach
The day
with
after.
students the 5 days with their parent-teacher conference.
Okay, what about March 9th? What about the March day? What if we put that at the beginning of January? Because
That's the
that's
end of our
tied to
term.
our
That's the end of the
meeting.
term.
That's the end of the term, yeah.
As a we line.
So that's end of term.
Gotcha.
And the reason for the placement there normally, well, the 12th is also, it's designated
It is
as
a
a
nice
professional development day, and that's
day.
placed because of daylight savings. So as we try to
You and I
space
said
PD
that.
day,
Which I did mention that in my
we
comments.
try to space them strategically, so it's so that kids don't have to come to school the day after daylight savings.
Especially
So-
in the spring.
Which I had mentioned, that
Correct.
I loved it when I don't have to.
And
wake
it,
my kids up.
I know it seems like a silly thing, but it does make a difference for kids on that thing. So, as you look at this, there are lots of things we could do. My recommendation would be consider adopting the 3 and then seeking some feedback from our teachers to say, we recognize that, and consider, would you rather have the teacher workday placed on the 8th of January instead of the 9th of February, or would you rather keep it the way it is, knowing the flexible?
I
That
love to
would,
get feedback from our teachers.
right, and that would give us time, and teacher workdays are easy to change. It requires 60-day notice prior to the start of the school. So we could change something like that in a board meeting so in May of 2028, that could be discussed and adopted, and that would give time to get feedback from our teachers. That's an approach that we could take. So questions for me?
Dan, we were also talking about the trying to keep all 3 districts together for MTech.
Yes, so yesterday at MTech, they did make the mention that if we keep the districts together, it helps them so much when they are planning when their classes start, and that it's really tricky because Wasatch is different and a lot of them are. So I know Nikki has feelings about the beginning of year because a lot of her patrons are saying that. But for me, it was the January back to the first day back being a teacher work day. And I taught many a year with, you came to school the day after teacher work
Right.
conferences.
I think
and
it's
that's
just been
how
the last
it
few
was.
years.
I was
Yeah, it's
just
only been the last
after
few years that
that.
we've been able to work that
When they
in, for
added
sure.
the 4.
Correct.
So that'd be an interesting survey.
Wait, and I think in that survey, we could explore both options. People would need to understand if we adjust the part of the year, something has to give, and to be really honest, there's not a lot to give. There's fall break, there's Thanksgiving break, and there's the Christmas break.
Can I ask, when you said parent-teacher conference, I remember
Yes.
this. So my sister's up in Davis County and school district, And they, on their parent-teacher conference days, they just have half days. And then they do the parent-teacher conferences in the other half of the day. So then they don't have to have a day off at the end because they did just half days that whole week, like 3 days of that week.
Do they still get the Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
They do. So how do half days work?
The tricky part with half days is they're hard for families.
That is,
A lot of the
yeah,
time.
I get that. I just didn't
I'm just saying
understand how
that's
the
why
half
we
days work.
minimize
Do they
it. That's
count
why-
towards?
Half days do count, along with the code changes that we talked
So that's
about.
just an option.
There is no minimal day requirements any longer on how long school needs to be to count as an instruction day.
37 seconds.
But that could be
Probably.
a way that we could help our
Needs to
teachers.
be long enough to make it worth transportation.
I know, I'm teasing.
There's a cost, I think is the reason.
No, that's
So that's just an
absolutely
option.
something that could be considered.
I mean,
I like
I
it.
feel like we can
What school
always.
district you said that was?
Davis, and I don't know if it's this year, but in past years they have
I
been
know
doing
with Jordan,
that.
what they do, their calendar is, at least for elementary, I can't speak for the secondary, is every Friday is actually a
Yes.
minimal day.
That
because
is
they end
Davis
at
also.
1. I know that has to do with like giving the teachers planning time. And then the way they work it is that there's a compensation day following parent-teacher conferences, and then the Thursday is usually a half day, and the Wednesday is a full day. So they would do shorter parent-teacher conferences on the Wednesday, longer parent-teacher conferences. That's just some of the different things
Yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts about calendaring, and one thing I would really love to see us look at is doing like a fixed day a week for the 8 AB days, if we could figure that out. Because like if you've got a kid doing a CE class or going to MTech or doing something like that, like the 8 AB day thing is horrible. Like it's so hard. And like our class times don't match up with times that you might be taking a class at UVU or something, because on their Tuesdays and Thursdays they go for an hour and a half instead of an hour. And
Yes.
so I'm interested in at some point having all of those discussions. And I'm interested in sending out a survey to our patrons and see what they like. I personally feel like 3 weekends and 2 weeks for Christmas is almost too long. Like by the end of it, I'm like, when do you leave? No, just kidding. But now that my college kids are home for 3 weeks now over Christmas, so it's like whatever. But I would rather push the start date back a couple of days and cut a couple from Christmas break. But I know the year that we only had like
We can't.
10 days with the 2 weekends for Christmas break, I probably got 200 emails. Like people were so mad. Like, so I don't
You
know.
really
But
could-
finding
This-
out what
this
our
is one of
patrons
those
want
hot-
might be the best thing to do.
So there, I would love to drop the bomb of looking at fall break, because that was reserved because there was UVA week, and
Mhm.
nobody has UVA week anymore. And I want to go back to the survey again. It's not just me. This is the number one thing in Central District as our January 2025. Our central respondents want to start later in August, but that's their number one thing. So on these calendars, and when I talk to people, they're like, anything after August 20th. That's generally what I hear. And so if you look at the fall break, you take like 2 or 3 days from that fall break, which really is just fun now. And we have November, which is another multi-day holiday. We have December, 2 full weeks. At some point, I think that it's prudent to take a look and say, this is pleasant, this fall break, we like it, but where we do have the value of making sure that there's a break, the first term, the second term are equal,
Something has to give.
not tying it to fall break allows us to be more flexible there. You can still give a teacher
That is
holiday
true.
that's not tied to a fall break, it's tied to whenever that term falls. And so, again, I understand that there's prioritizing, and so I'd love to keep the assumption of using fall break into that mix, because I don't think it's been considered on any of these surveys. And it's just not, it's not what it used to be, 10 years ago. So that would provide a lot more flexibility to our calendars.
I would say though, remember fall break is only 2 days, because the third day is a teacher work day. So in all 3 of these calendars, to push the calendar back past the 20th, you would need 3 days. So even if you cut fall break,
Yeah.
you still need another day.
And that's why I'm saying like November 3rd. We could do like, well, that's a paid one, so, but we could move it to somewhere, you know, different.
You could move it to October.
We could move it to October 20th, so families do have a 4-day weekend. Right? But then
But then you still need another day, or you're
but then
starting
I'm
school
saying
on
the 19th
Friday.
and 20th. If we take it off and just do fall break as a 4-day.
It might
I-
be something
I
to
love
throw
my
out to
fall
people
break,
if they
so
want
it's
fall
hard for
break
me
or
to
not, because I
try
like
to-
fall break.
Yeah.
Well, and I think if we do a survey, you know, that has never been surveyed. And laying out, these are, you know, prioritize your interests.
I would love to do a survey based off of each semester and say, this is how many days we have to have. These are different options. How could we do something like that? Just so people
We
can
We
can
could
see.
do whatever we
almost
want.
anything.
The more complicated it gets, the
I
harder
know.
it is
For
to
one,
explain.
and
Oh,
another
yeah.
option goes away.
Like,
So then
yeah.
you have to
Right.
pick.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey,
But-
if you want.
You know what, we
this
have to
option.
understand that we would be so far different from the other,
I know.
from the other districts.
Try
Maybe
to
that's what we
persuade
want
them.
to do. There you go.
Come to our side.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at their surveys and on their surveys,
Yeah,
they,
their surveys are different.
they don't mind starting so early, and so that's,
They have different priorities.
at some point.
It's just our
they're going
teachers
to
that
go
we have to
this
think about.
way. Yes, at some
Right.
point.
And that's again why the committee recommended the 3 was to create some consistency through the transition. But absolutely, I think, part of creating something new is being able to look at what are we doing, why are we doing it, does it meet our needs, and if it doesn't meet our needs, we make some changes, right? And we gather those feedback, so that's all possibilities.
We could very easily send out a survey that says, do you want to start after August 20th or have fall break? Because really, that's the only way I see to fix it. I mean, there just aren't that many.
That's the truth.
Yeah,
Or not
To
have
keep
Christmas
the
break
term
be
and
so
everything.
long, like those are your only, but see, all 3 of these years, Christmas is so,
At
Yeah.
such a
you
weird
couldn't
place.
go any later into Christmas break, because
And
you're
I
already
would
going to
say
the
We
I've
22nd.
would
done-
have,
I've
we
done-
could end it
right,
earlier,
gone
but
back.
we can't.
Right.
Right after, like, within the few days after Christmas break, so like January 3rd or 4th, and it is
Mhm.
rough.
It is rough.
It is super rough to go back.
Okay.
But I'm just saying-
I think the number one thing we're hearing is we want that first day back to be a teacher work day in January. And maybe that's the easiest thing to do, is adopt these 3 calendars, but change that one day. I don't feel like that's so
Well,
bad.
I love Joel's idea of, Dr. Mr. Superintendent. I'll tell you all.
Could you add Mr. Doctor?
Mr.
I wanna ask a question after you.
I like the idea of just pulling our teachers and saying, would you like that
Yeah.
9th or move it to the 8th? Which one do you prefer?
Because that's an easy fix that would also allow us to be pretty much aligned with the other districts
And
for those
they
3
might
weeks.
do that too, since their teachers like that.
I think once that, like if that were to be our
Good
approach,
idea.
I think
See
the
the map.
majority of the districts would probably consider something like that.
And that's an easy survey.
That's
It's
a really
not
easy
super
thing.
complicated. It's easy to
You don't
explain.
You don't need a spread.
It doesn't. You don't need a
flow chart.
spreadsheet.
And if we were gonna differ from the other districts, to differ on a teacher
On a
workday,
teacher workday,
it's
yeah.
not that big of a deal. The
Right.
biggest things are, start,
Yeah, right.
Yes.
the holidays, those things
Yes.
where you would want to take your kids if they were, you know what I mean, that would be the thing. The question becomes, how comfortable would you feel adopting, and how far would you feel comfortable adopting the recommendation of these 3, and then making some small modifications and then launching into the bigger studies, or are you feeling like that needs to be done
Could
sooner?
we adopt it with the caveat that we would do additional studies?
I'd
Well,
rather
I
adopt
think that
it
you
now
can-
and then change it than.
You always have the right to do additional studies and recommendations.
How do you feel? I want to hear from those who voted against adopting it, so that.
So I guess I feel like I don't see the point in adopting it halfway and being like, we're gonna come back and edit it later. Like, we're not under a gun right now to adopt these last 2 years. Some of us won't even be in office in 2028. I mean, that's not even your term if you were elected for a 3-year term. So that's
I
where.
could be out of here.
No, and so that's where I feel like adopting a calendar for not even your term is bad form because, that's just me. Okay, but I do think that it's important that we adopt 27, 28. And that's why that's where I'm
Asking
at.
myself permission to talk. Okay, so we do need to move on and let Jason
It's all
do his
good.
thing. So
Sorry, Jason.
tonight, what
No
we're
worries.
going to do is we
Okay.
are going to adopt 2027 to 2028.
That'll
And
be
that's
it.
all that
We're
is
gonna
on.
talk about
We're gonna move.
Yeah.
We are going to
Make a
move to
motion.
adopt that. We're going to make that motion. Thank you.
No.
And that is the only thing that's on our agenda for tonight. Okay. And then we at least have something in common with all the districts that they need moving forward. So let's think about this. I think our number one, if I'm hearing this correctly, our number one thing is to get that first day back in January be a teacher work day, and the easiest way would be to swap it out with the February 9th teacher work day. So let's work on that. Let's keep that there, and then you're right, we don't have to adopt those other two calendars. I think that's
And
a
send the
great.
poll out, would you rather have fall break, or would you rather start on the
Exactly.
20th? Or
Oh,
something along those lines of
That to
August?
me is down the road a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm new, so I will throw this out for a future conversation. Is the hourly requirement more, like the 990 hours? Because I'm curious if, legislatively, if we were to say, either 990 hours or the day, choose what fits your schedule better. Like maybe there's these half-day Wednesdays. that you
USBE can
count.
give you a waiver, because we do have a few
Oh, yeah.
rural districts that are on a 4-day week, and they end up doing the hours, I think, instead of the days.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I would be
But-
interested in that, trying to figure out, because, for instance, there are these half-day Wednesdays.
I think the 180 days are federal.
I'm sorry, what?
Are the 180 days federal?
No.
They're not the state.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
USD. And I don't even know. if there's
Okay,
a
so I just need to
state
understand
requirement, 'cause of the
that
rural,
Let's
like
add
the rural.
this
They have to,
They
they
get
have
an
to petition
exemption.
for a 4-day exemption.
They get an exemption to do the 4-day.
And it's actually in that document.
Okay, are we
Can I make
comfortable?
one more point?
Yes, please.
Or a question? Has the policy, did you change the calendaring policy
Yes.
to
so that
allow you
had
to
the-
adopt multiple calendars? Okay,
Yes,
that
we
was my
changed
only
that,
question.
but we are choosing to just adopt
That's-
this one tonight because
Understand.
that's what we could agree on, but yes, we did change
Okay.
that.
Thank you for your time.
That was super
Joel.
helpful.
Joel, are you
Thank so
staying?
much, Joel.
Yes, I'm staying.
Okay, because I just
He's our
shared
superintendent.
the PowerPoint with you, so I wouldn't have to worry about
Oh,
trying to.
perfect.
So.
Okay,
if
so,
you'll check your email.
our next item is a discussion about developing our vision, and I wanted to say something before we turn the time over to Jason Thieler, who's going to lead that discussion. During the campaign, a really common question for me was, what's the first thing that you will do as a new school board member, or your school board should do? And the most common answer I heard given was to hire a superintendent. But I always said, in reality, the superintendent is hired to carry out the school board's vision, and so I always said that we needed to adopt our vision, and that was easier said than done when we got thrown into this deep end. We are so thrilled that we have chosen our superintendent, but here we are. We've just been a tad bit busy, so we're grateful to be at this point with Joel to lead our charge, but we need to step back a little bit and figure out what our charge is. So tonight we are going to have Jason Thieler help us understand the difference between a vision and a mission statement and those things. And we're going to start this process. This is not something that you would do in one sitting. This would take some time. So we'll turn the time over to Jason.
Okay, and we have till when?
5:30.
Okay, well, maybe we'll be done before that, that's fine with me. So, so what Diane kind of tasked me to do is we're not gonna leave, here with our mission statement and our vision statement and our values and all that stuff selected, or even close to that. But, so, the biggest thing we wanna talk about is what do we mean when we say mission, vision, goals? Like, what does that mean? If you talk to a company, if you talk to this person, talk to that person, their mission statement means this. Another person says, no, that sounds like a vision statement. Well, no, that's a purpose statement. No, that's your, anyway. A lot of people have a lot of, and none are right or wrong, but, so what I put up there is this is squishy work, okay? And there aren't absolutes, and it has to mean this, and it has to mean that. No, that's not the case. But what we should do is we should at least among the 8 of us say, when we say the word mission, in Aspen Peaks, we mean this. When we say the word vision in Aspen Peaks, we mean this. Does that make sense? So in order to just kind of have that discussion, I put some potential ideas. None of these I'm married to. This is just for kind of conversation and dialogue. Does that make sense? Okay, so mission statement, that's the work you do, okay? And so a lot of people will say, well, why do we exist, or what's our daily work? That's our mission statement, right? What are we about day to day, okay? Some people like a vision statement, that's the dream, okay? This is what a lot of people will say. That's what do we want to achieve? What's our ideal future look like? 10 years from now, what will Aspen Peaks be? Those kind of questions. And then, so there's the work and the dream, and then some people, and this is even becoming more popular lately, is they call it a purpose statement. And a purpose statement kind of takes half mission, half vision, and puts them together, okay? And so it kind of ties the daily work and how that daily work leads to the ideal future. Does that make sense? So some pros to a purpose statement is you just have to remember one. Right? Well, is that our mission statement or our vision statement? No, it's our purpose statement. It's both. Does that make sense? One of the cons could be, well, a mission statement lets you be a little bit more granular or specific about some things, and a vision statement will let you be a little bit more specific about other things. But then now there's two, and they're longer, and does that make sense? So those are options we have. We could say, well, we want a mission statement and a vision statement. No, I kind of like the idea of a purpose statement. And let's find a way to marry those two. So those are some of the things that we'll kind of just need to talk about a little bit. And then values are basically the beliefs. So you have the work, the dream, and the beliefs. How must we behave to achieve our mission and vision, or our purpose, whatever we want to decide. Okay? What are our core principles? And I'll share this with you guys. So, so those are kind of the three things. And this is just a very brief overview of what it could be. So really, for the next 45 minutes, I kind of want to deconstruct and look at some samples. And okay, is this a mission statement? Is this a vision statement? How do we know? Why is it one and not the other? So that's kind of what I'm thinking, if that's okay. So which is which? Okay, go back. Okay, we got mission statements. What's our daily work? Vision statements. What's our ideal future? And value statements. What are our core principles? Okay, so serving Utah County residents by baking the best gluten-free cookies every day. What is that? Mission, vision, purpose, core beliefs. Okay. Second one, we only use locally sourced sustainable ingredients. Okay. Values. Leading the baking industry to a world where no one has to choose between their health and a delicious treat. Vision. That's a vision, right? And so this fourth one, we bake the best gluten-free cookies so that nobody has to choose between their health and a delicious treat. That's purpose. So that kind of married the daily work of gluten-free baking with the no one has to choose. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what it might look like just generically between a mission, a vision, and a purpose statement. And then the values.
I was going to say, I want a cookie now.
But I like gluten full, so. Yeah, those donuts last night.
Yeah,
were good.
yeah,
Okay,
where's that?
so just for fun, let's unpack a hybrid statement and see if, again, this is just practice, so we're getting on the same page, okay, for what this language means. You can't take the teacher out of a teacher, okay? I did it for way too long, so I apologize. So we have examples, non-examples, that kind of thing. So we unlock human potential by building accessible, cutting-edge communication tools, ensuring a world where distance never limits connection. Sounds great, right, for some communications company, right? Okay. So, mission, the daily work is unlocking human potential by building accessible, cutting-edge tools. That's their daily thing. That's what they do. And then, obviously, the vision is to try to create this world in the future, right, where distance doesn't limit connection. So you can go from those two and build, right, a purpose statement, or you can kind of write a purpose statement and work backwards and deconstruct it into a mission and a vision statement if you want. Does that make sense? Now let's kind of put this, so we've had bakery language and we've had tech language or whatever, some communication. So let's kind of see what might this look like from a school district context. So in a school district context, literally our mission, if you talk to most people about mission statements, would answer this question: what can every student expect to experience when they go to our schools? What can they expect to experience that on a day, any day? you go to school, what can they expect? That's the daily work that we're doing. What can they expect to happen at school?
Learning.
Okay? The vision statement is, what does the ideal future look like for every student because they went to our schools? They can solve problems. They can think creatively. Okay, so
Excellence.
right, excellence, right? So they are ready to contribute to society, right? As one person I said, they are out of basement ready. That's what one mom told me. That's the vision, is they're ready to be out of my basement when they graduate from your school. Okay, that was her vision statement. And then values are, okay, so what collective commitments will we honor to ensure that the students succeed in our schools? Okay, so those are kind of the like nuts and bolts, like bare basic, if you wanted to just put mission, vision, and values in kind of school context. Okay, and I found this, and this is kind of a litmus test for these questions. If a student asks, well, what's going to happen at school today, they can go to the mission statement and kind of get some clues about what should happen at school today. Okay, what kind of things will they be doing? What kind of activities? What kind of interactions? What kind of experience will they have at school?
What they like to ask though is, are we going to be doing anything today?
Yeah, yeah.
I used to ask-
Or
I
are we
used to-
doing anything fun
Yeah,
today?
yeah.
Are we doing anything today?
If a
I used to
taxpayer
ask my son-
asks,
I used to ask my son every day, like before he left, like, yeah, like, what did you do or whatever, and he's just like, nothing. And so now when he leaves for school, I say,
Don't do
when you get
nothing.
home, tell me about something awesome.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happened."
And hopefully there is
Yeah,
something.
I'm like,
All right.
yeah, tell me whether you were awesome or someone did something else.
Yeah, Fred was awesome.
Yeah.
So the second question, if a taxpayer asks, well, why should I fund this district? Well, you should be able to point to the vision statement about our society, our community, our kids will be able to be this and do this and have this in their lives, and that's why you want to pay your taxes, dude. Man, because they will be the future community that you live in, right? All these kids. That's why you should pay your taxes. Our vision statement would kind of tell that person, okay? If a teacher asks, well, how should I behave at work today? It's our values that will say, we collaborate. I'm just making stuff up. We collaborate, we engage with students, we build relationships, right? Okay, so does that make sense? So we've got kind of context and then some questions that can help us as we, in the future, not today, but in the future, kind of try to decide what would we want a student to say? What would we, to answer these questions. All right, we are flying. This is great. We'll be done way before. But then we can just get into some basic discussion. All right, so again, let's just work with a few sample statements. Preparing so this is just one. Diane knows about this one because when we were at
Yes, you
the
did.
Yeah. I kind of was just
Messing around.
at night, and my wife didn't come up, so it was just me in the room. So, for example, this is just, again, could be just a sample. Preparing all students with the essential knowledge, skills, and dispositions required for academic and personal growth. Okay, that's like the mission statement, right? That's what happens. That's our daily work, right? We're preparing kids with knowledge and skills and dispositions. That's our daily work. Why it works, tell parents and staff exactly what happens in a classroom each day. The delivery of these 3 specific things kids need. Okay, if that's something like that is what we decide to do. Sample vision statement, build community where every student is empowered to reach their highest peaks of learning and opportunity.
Yeah.
See what you did there?
I like that.
We were trying to figure out how to put roots in there for the
Yeah.
trees, but
Okay, so that why this works, it shifts the focus of preparation, which is the school's job, that's our daily work, that's our work, to the potential of the students, the outcome, the future we want. It paints a picture of a future where there are no unclimbable mountains for our graduates. Okay, so again, this is meant to be somewhat, just hyperbolic a little bit, just to kind of get us thinking.
I like it.
Okay, so what might a sample hybrid, that kind of purpose statement that combines the two look like? Empowering, so borrow some from each statement, right? Empowering all students with the knowledge, skills, and dispositions they need to climb peaks of learning and opportunity. Okay, so it's shorter. It's longer than either of the two, but it's shorter than having to know both and which one's which. Okay, it's just our purpose statement. We're not messing around with the mission and the vision. We just like this statement because it talks about our daily work and what it will lead to for our kids. And our teachers need to know one thing, right? That. And that's, everyone knows it, it's ubiquitous. So does that make sense? Okay. All right, let's keep going. So just for fun, I put this into AI, okay? And I asked AI, what do you think of this mission statement? Okay, and if you know how AI works, it's pretty tricky. It's really good at some things, okay, and it's pretty good at this kind of a word analysis. AI now, so your statement's a solid 9. It's punchy, inclusive, and avoids some of the popular education jargon that often puts people asleep. Okay?
Or don't understand.
True.
Right.
There's no acronyms.
Yeah,
Yay!
yeah, I mean, it's pretty, like there are some things I love about our the Alpine stuff, but there is some language in there that if you don't know what it means, you've got to go look it up.
The education world might not understand that since there's no acronym.
I know.
Right?
You might be confused.
They'll think all is an acronym.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all
Yeah, the advanced learning
Yeah,
model.
you can't capitalize all, or everybody's going to be like, what does all mean?
Yeah, or it could be every student, right? Whatever.
Not.
Yeah, every student, all students, and it doesn't have to be capitalized, right? Okay. So, and then I said, all right. I told AI, if you wanted this to be a 10, what would you write? Here's what it wrote: to ignite the potential within all students, equipping them with the mastery and mindset to scale the peaks of today's learning and tomorrow's opportunity. And I said, well, explain your thinking. It uses a power verb, ignite over empower, because ignite implies a catalyst of innate power instead of I'm transferring my power to you. Okay? Don't know if I just agree with all of that, but alliteration, using mastery and mindset is a simpler, more memorable way to say knowledge, skills, and dispositions.
But not
I
very
personally
specific.
love knowledge, skills, and dispositions because
Yeah,
they're
me
very
too.
3 distinct things.
And they're,
Right.
you know,
Right.
how to achieve.
But anyway,
Yeah.
that's kind of what it thinks. Duality, using today's learning and tomorrow's opportunity bridges the gap between current classroom outcomes and future life success. I think it makes it wordy, but that's, again, just my opinion. So, again, just kind of a fun way. Okay, let's see if we all agree on, when we say mission, we mean this. When we say vision, we mean this. If we want to do a purpose statement, this is why we would do it. Okay? All right, let's see.
And
Why
I
is
think,
this
like,
not
for me, what
moving
sticks
on?
out is I would say empowering every student, because I like the idea of focusing on an individual rather than just
Yeah.
the group as a collective.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so simply stated, I found this, I thought it was great. Billy's mother eloquently stated, I just want 3 things from the school. First, I want my son to learn the basic skills so that he will need to get a job someday. As I listened, I was thinking to myself that I certainly wanted the same for my daughters. 2, I want him to develop good, appropriate social skills so that when he grows up and buys a house next to yours, you won't want to move. I was really listening now. And 3rd, I want him to learn to appreciate the finer things in life so that he doesn't grow up to be a couch potato. Well, she had clarified a vision for her son that any parent should want for their child. Okay? So again, this is taking maybe some flowery education language and really kind of putting it into a mom's layman's terms. Out of basement ready. Right? That's what I want this school to do. My kid is ready to move out of my basement. Okay? So again, just different ways to think about it. So I hope that helps a little bit. So I guess our homework, if you guys want to do this, would be think about a few bedrock answers. What are your bedrock answers to these questions? What do I want students to experience when they go to our schools? Because if we kind of like some of the things we've talked about, that would be, as a short and sweet way as we can say that would be a mission statement for us, right? And if you go back to some of the other ones, that's like we build high-tech, right, equipment. We bake gluten-free, right, stuff. That's our daily work. We do this, this, and this, and kids can. This is what the kids will. This is what will happen to the kids, with the kids, at school. And then the second question: what do I think the ideal future looks like for our students? Okay. So then so if each of us come prepared with 2 or 3 things that are, I just want my kids to do this at school. I want when they graduate from whatever school, this is what I want them to be ready to do. Right? To do. Okay? And then 3rd, what collective commitments do our employees need to honor in order to ensure that these things happen? Our mission and our vision happen. Okay? So I think what might be good is for each of us to kind of just ruminate on this and come back. And that's when you kind of get one of the typical, and Joel and some of the other principals here that kind of gone through this process. When we opened Thunder Ridge, you know, with my staff, we kind of went through that process of everyone had 5 post notes, not 4, not 6. You got 5, and there needs to be one thing on each of those 5. And then they would put up their 5. These are the 5 commitments we're going to make: collaboration, innovation, whatever, right? And then we put those up, and then you kind of do that cloud, right? And let's see where most of the 8 of us are overlapping. And then let's make it a reasonable length that captures the most powerful things that we want our kids to do when they are walking around our schools, the things we want them to experience on a regular basis in our school. So does that make sense? So for each of these, think on them and maybe list 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 things that in your order of this is most important to me to how we might answer these.
I just think we need to just adopt out of basement ready. That seems pretty to the point.
All of your kids will be out of basement ready.
Subline
Mom,
at the
is
end.
the answer?
Aspen Peaks, out of basement ready.
We
There we go.
So it would have to be an acronym.
I'm just kidding.
We would have to make it like 4-letter acronym.
OOBR. Uber.
OOBR.
OOBR.
So we could do
Uber.
stickers.
OOBR.
Yeah.
Out of basement ready.
All right, we're having a real fun time.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's maybe this helps us kind of, and I'll share this with you guys. But I think one of the first things we might want to do, and maybe if we have time right now, is decide: do we kind of more like the idea of a purpose statement? That's a little bit longer, perhaps, but it's one thing, and it ties together the work with the outcome. Or do we like the idea of we want a mission statement? We want a vision statement.
My thought is to write them separately, and then have a chance to happen, and then see
if there's a way to meld
Because
them.
I like this because it has us break it into the different parts, and I like that to consider those individual parts before we think about.
I agree, but because then it's really clear which is the daily work, which is the dream, which is our beliefs.
And then from there decide.
But then we could put it together.
This is what happens when someone puts blue paper in the copier and doesn't take it out when they're done. Which wasn't me. Which wasn't me.
It's Aspen Peaks blue. I
all
like
good.
my that way.
Matches the balloons. It's fine.
Thank you.
We do
Does
like to
match our
coordinate.
balloons.
And I would say I like the idea of thinking about them separately, but then I like
Yeah.
the idea of the official, like what we use being the purpose statement, because I like not forgetting that we're trying to achieve this, as I think it's easy to forget as you go about your day to day that this is the outcome that you're looking for. You know what I mean? And when you keep that outcome in mind, it's sometimes easier to go through the things that are maybe like, do I really want to load the dishwasher every day? No, but I like having a clean kitchen. I like feeding my kids healthy things, you know, stuff like that. So I like having the future tied to what we're doing today.
So what I have here is, again, the first page is just some AI generated stuff. Again, just to, all right, what kind of language do I like? How brief do I want it? And then I've got Alpine's coherence map that has Alpine's mission, vision, okay, and values. Then you'll see Provo that has their mission, vision, and some core values. You'll see Jordan, okay, mission, vision, values. And then last is Nebo. Okay, so here's just a few examples of that may, as you try to think, all right, what would be my mission statement? What might be a fun thing to include? You'd have some fodder to look at, and kind of like what we did when we did our superintendent brochure and our DA brochure. I like this, I like that piece, I don't like that piece, let's take this one from here. And so here's some resources as we.
I really liked Provo's being 3 words. That was interesting to me.
Yeah, and if you look at it, then they use those 3 words to, no, which one was it? Oh, it's Nebo, that is a very short one, but then their vision statement is built directly on the very, I mean, it's like
Oh,
8
they
words
took an
long. There's this
expanded,
1, 2,
sure.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 words long. A 9-word mission statement, people can know. A 27-word mission statement, no, that's you lose any kind of potency when it's that long. But
Well, we definitely need excellence.
Or should we make it so that it becomes the word excellent?
Look at you go.
Only if you can think of something that starts with X that will work.
Yeah. Xylophone.
That's not gonna work. Xylophone
Every
is
kid should learn to play
not.
the xylophone.
That's a Z, it's not an X.
No, it's next one.
Yeah, well,
XYLOPHON.
anyway, there we go.
Still not
We
on.
can go to our linking charts.
Okay, that's all I have formally to share with you guys, but hopefully it was very instructive for me. In fact, because everyone's like, well, that sounds like a mission. No, that's a vision. Because if you go and type it in, you'll get different people telling you different things. So it helped me kind of at least say, maybe we'll just, this is what it means to us.
It helps to have your definitions.
And I love the litmus test. Like, okay,
Well, why don't we go around, we have some time, why don't we talk about the mission statement? What is it that we want them to experience every day? Because I suppose the reason that.
throw out
Yeah, let's just throw out some ideas. I think the reason, I looked at Provo's a while ago, and I think the reason I love that is because it has welcome. Because I want that piece where a student comes in and they, whether we use, I'm not saying we have to use the word welcome, but I want that component in what we do.
So we could say like inclusion.
And I like connection, because to me that's more than.
Maybe we should just start writing some things on the
Do you want
board, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've talked a lot about already, in like almost every meeting, we talk about the innovation part of our district.
We could use that word.
We have used innovation a lot.
I love the word incubator or incubation. Like schools is like incubation points where ideas like sprout into other things or knowledge incubates for future.
I'm sorry, I just keep thinking of the Alien movies. And
It's like a.
We're hoping to avoid that in any of our.
Yeah.
Let's not make that.
Let's not go there.
The eggs are incubating.
All right, so what are some more words for welcome? Inclusive, I mean, what
Well,
are?
and then conversations, we have talked about like, the root system and how they're all connected. So you said connection.
I like connection.
So what Provo did is, this is what, as far as their
Yeah.
mission statement, they took it literally. This is our work. The
Yeah,
mission statement is
exactly.
what
It's very
we
clear.
do. We welcome, we educate, we inspire. So they took that, they literally took that very clear, what is our work. And other districts had a little different. Unleash your potential. Okay, well again, that's who's unleashing their potential? We are, right? We're unleashing potential. So, and then in NEBO, we engage, empower, and collaborate, right? So, whatever it is, if we like that kind of definition, our mission statement should be, what do we do? What's our daily work, right? So,
I also love Alpine mentioning families. We partner with students,
so that's
families,
their
and
that's their
community
we
members.
verb. We partner.
And that is huge to
Yeah.
being successful in education, is including families.
I also like using the terms that are active rather than, like, would you use innovate instead of
Yeah,
innovation?
yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I like
The
using the
verb
verbs
of it
rather
instead
than.
of a noun.
We innovate. We connect.
So it's an action.
We partner.
So it's an action
So-
rather than a
Right.
Yeah.
something that's happening
It's
to
a good
you.
observation.
Yeah.
That's an action, not a noun.
Yeah.
So those, those are. I thought it was.
Yeah, turn those on. Groups for sure.
I also like what Alpine said, that we will strengthen individuals, families, and communities, because if we partner, that's going to be the result. It will strengthen. But we're trying to be different, but I'm just pointing out some things that we like to build.
Well, with the word connect, that could go lots of different ways, right? It could connect with our communities and with our teachers.
With families,
Yes.
students connecting, teachers and students connecting. teachers
And there's
and
that root
parents.
system underneath that we
Yeah.
kind of like that
Well, it's
analogy.
like
I do
that
like
way.
that
Really like
analogy.
that.
Yeah.
Put root system or something.
You know about that, right? With Aspen. You know, I know you know about it, but that we all love the Aspen tree because of the roots.
Sure.
We love that, and that Like
Imagery.
Imagery,
yes,
yeah.
that is the word.
And that we're individuals above
Thanks,
the
Darren.
ground, but underneath we are
We are all
connected
connected.
and we help each other. So that would be a really neat image to include.
Just to catch you up on conversation.
Appreciate it, I
before you-
appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking about
Work
a
you
lot of
guys
those a little bit.
I sent all of those to everybody today. If I get more, I'll add them.
I love this.
I was so looking for someone that had trees with roots. It's okay, I'm still looking.
Anything else?
I was just gonna throw out, I think it'd be great if we could do an acronym. Just memorable.
Our parents don't like acronyms.
I
They're
know, but
like,
if it's
"Stop
like
talking in acronyms."
Aspen, and that stands for like,
The 5 things
like,
we would do.
yes, or
Aspire.
something like that, you know, anyway, just throwing that out there as
Actually,
a
Aspen
thought.
might be a doable one.
Yeah.
Thesaurus, here we go.
Okay, Joel?
It doesn't have a
Joel,
C in
I'm
it,
sharing
so I
Or
say
we
no.
could do peach. We could do
Yes,
peach
so-
also.
I wouldn't.
No.
Just because we have a high school with peak, I mean, we could.
So anyway.
But they use it a lot.
Just
the high
something to
schools
throw
do.
out, like if you, anyway, if we could do
Oh,
something
yeah.
that would be memorable, that could also tie, anyway, that we could find some way to tie together, I think that would. Cause then it's not like, oh, what's the mission
Key
statement or vision
partner.
statement, you're like, the eyes glaze over and you're like, I don't know, we reveal
And
what's
E could be
here.
You find out what a
engaged.
synonym for
excellent.
connect.
Oh, it could be excellent.
You know, like, yeah, I just think of those corporate ones where
Okay,
they
so
say, like,
excellent
no,
would
put
be
that
just
on
an
here,
adjective,
No one
though.
cares about it.
And that's why I think
Excel.
the best way,
Excel.
the best way to go about
Sorry,
this
what?
is to
Excel.
decide
So that
together
it's
That's a verb.
what we
Excellent.
think our top things are for each of those questions, and then see if they fit into something like this.
Something.
Rather than
Start with that.
right, starting with this and going backwards. is-
Yes, I'm just saying, like, and it could be some other word, and that's
I gotta
fine.
fix this. I
Like,
can't do it.
Yes.
So typically speaking, best practice would be
Yeah,
saying,
there
let's
you go.
let's agree upon
I should've
our
done it that way from the
bedrock
beginning.
things, and then see how
If
we
we
might
can
creatively
translate
weave them
those.
into something.
Yes.
Right, because if we are just trying to fit it into something that's not what we really meant, it just had to fit.
Right.
Excellence.
Right.
Working the wrong way.
Yeah, it's going the wrong direction.
So just for fun, I'm going to share something with you, and Joel, you can, if you want, you can share it with everybody, both the slideshow and this. But I couldn't sleep. Diane knows this. I couldn't sleep one night, and
You just went to
so
bed.
I created this kind of thing. So there's this potential mission statement that I came up with,
And he had a visual.
and then I had defining the climb, 6 carabiners or values for Aspen Peaks. Again, this was solely based on our discussion at dinner. If you remember at dinner, we had that
Yes,
discussion.
we did.
And it was innovation. Someone was talking about innovation. Someone was talking about connection. Someone was talking about, supporting teachers, that PLCs, that's gotta be,
Things that
that's a
we
bedrock
all
thing
have
for me.
expressed
If we don't have
right now.
PLCs, I'm not interested in doing this anymore, right? I mean, there was those kind of conversations that we had where we actually started kind of saying what some of our top things were. So, again, this is just something I'm sharing as more fodder for thought, okay? I don't care.
I like
what-
that you got mine in there, so.
where we go. But this is an example of kind of what Steve was going at. Is there a way that we
Something
can
that's
then
memorable.
we can then use
Because
the
otherwise
imagery of
it's-
Aspen Peaks or some other thing, and I just chose the climb and kind of rock climbing and how it might be a way that we can then make a pretty kick butt graphic that we
I
share with
love
teachers
that.
and parents, a graphic that someone makes in Canva that has some kind of graphics in there, and we talk about whether that's an aspen tree or a peak or a climb or a whatever, a root system. But so this is again just more fodder of things that I did at Thunder Ridge because we were the Raptors, and so everything kind of had this we tried to, like, our thing was Raptor Claw, right? And each of the claw meant CLAW, right? They each stood for a different part of what. So all of this stuff can come, but I think it would be good for us to really get those bedrock principles and then see if there's a way to fit it into something like this. So.
No, I think that's great.
And I did this as a purpose statement, so it's not mission, vision, and then values. It's just purpose statement and
Stuff,
values.
yeah.
So
I like that.
again, just a
Something that we
sample.
can
No
think
one
about.
needs to love it, hate it, it's all good. I don't need any.
love it though. It's so well done.
I don't need any, pats on the back for this. Honestly,
Well,
it's
we might be able
just
to tweak it.
But we might pat you
food
on
for
the back.
food for
What's that?
thought.
Just massage a little bit to get that, but like, I think that's a good start, for sure.
I know I'm really connecting with the connect word. I really am liking some of the imagery of the
I do too.
system Aspen, specifically that imagery.
And it can go so many different directions. It could be connecting with families and parents. It could be
Teachers connecting with each other.
teachers and connection with the students.
Yep.
And to me, that has to happen every day, because if you don't have that, you have nothing. They are not engaging with you if you have not connected.
Totally agree. That connection word is powerful because it talks about the connection between the school and the home, the teacher and a teacher, and the teacher and a student. All three of those. So you got collaboration, community engagement, and nurturing, right? You got all three of those things in that one word.
Well, if you
So-
if you make that part of the student's experience, instead of students waiting
Yeah.
to be reached out to, they recognize, I have to connect too. I have to reach out and connect with
Get to
the
be
teacher.
one of those little
I know.
all the time.
It's one of those things that they expect. What can I expect at school today? I can expect to connect with my teacher. I can expect that my teacher will purposely create situations and opportunities for me to connect with my classmates, right? Because that's what good teachers do. You work that
You
in.
connect to what you're
Yeah.
learning.
And then teachers, what do we expect you to do? What's one of our values? We expect you to engineer on purpose opportunities for your kids to connect with each other.
Do you know?
That's just one
Peel the
thing we
layer.
expect.
Ooh, that really connects with me, because yes, I worked with 5-year-olds, but if you teach them what the expectation is, if you empower them to do those things. So we had activities where I taught them that it is your responsibility to do this. And how do you do this? How do you make friends? We walked around the room and practiced saying, "Can I play with you today at recess?" or whatever. But it's in today's society, I feel like everybody waits for something to happen to them, but we have to empower them to take some responsibility. So exactly what you were saying. What are we going to do? What can we teach them specifically to do? So
To connect and to be connected.
yeah.
Well, think about how different it is if a parent says, instead of like, what did you learn today, or what did you do today? Who did you connect with today? Or, what did you learn that connected to the world? Like when they're actively connecting instead
Some of the
just
old
having it happen.
Fogies back there will
Exactly.
remember Vern Henshaw saying attachment leads to attendance, which leads to achievement. And so attachment is just another word for connect. I'm attached to a teacher. I'm attached to a content area. I'm attached to a sport I'm playing or a band. Or so that was Vern's big thing. If you can get kids attached to something, they'll attend. And if they attend,
Give them a reason.
we'll teach them.
Yeah.
If they're here, we'll get some good stuff into them. And so Vern would also agree that that attachment or that connection was his number one thing. We have to find a way to connect kids to the school. I want to be here. I like coming here because I connect with this teacher, to this group of peers, to this instrument, to this sport, to this content, to this whatever.
That goes back to the CTE presentation last time. Was it just this week
Yeah.
with Alpine? No, the one before that was about these kids. If in CTE they graduate, they had like a 98% graduation rate because they were so connected to whatever that program was. Same thing with MTech. Same thing with.
And that goes along with your third one. What's the wordage for it?
High levels.
High level.
Students.
So they have to have responsibility. They have to understand that there's responsibility on the student part. It's not all things happening to you, but then some type of connection. I think we're kind of stuck on that.
Well,
word.
it seems like that's one of the things that
It means something
is
to us.
a bedrock part of both our mission and our values, right? That word is strongly connected to our, now in our values it might be, what do we have to do to get our work done? Connection might be called collaboration, right? That's what we have to do. That's some of the things that we have to do to make sure that these things happen. But it's still, it's a parallel, and it's an appendage to, not a replacement for. They're synonymous in just a little different verbiage for the audience.
So connect and partner are two words that really
Seem to
resonate with our group.
So, I think, as we continue to talk about this over the next several months, hopefully this is the kind of thing that we'll, and come back to those three questions. Okay, is this what our students can expect? And then let's see if we can fit that into our mission statement. Is this what we're doing, or is this what I'm going to tell a taxpayer? This is why you should pay your taxes, because when the kids come out of our school, they're going to do this, 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 and this. Well, that's our vision, right?
So that's another reason why I like having the three separate ones, and then you're right, we could put them together into a purpose, but I think it makes it very clear for us what our expectations are as we're making that.
That you lead with the purpose statement, and then you break it down into mission, vision, and then values. So I didn't even bother with goals, because those will be directly related to our mission and our vision.
Okay.
And those are a little more, those are pretty more straightforward to people, for people to
Any other
make sense
thoughts
of it.
about what we've done so far in this? I like our progress. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that was
Jason.
very helpful. I'm glad you got here. Oh, goodness.
Did you email those out?
I can share it with.
Okay, yeah, or share 'em or whatever, yeah.
I'll share this purpose, the one, the carabiner one.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
you'll
that-
see all my
that'll
notes
be
below
fun.
there
Yeah,
that I
That's
used to
Great.
create the
Long night.
PowerPoint, but you might like those too.
Okay, so let's recap. We have just a few minutes. So let's recap what we're going to do here. We're going to each think about some words that are really bedrock words for
Yeah.
us in each of those areas. And then let's kind of go back. We have a few minutes for the calendar. We are going to make a motion today to adopt, of course, that first calendar, 27 to 28. Is there any other thing that we want to talk about before we adjourn here about 28, 29, or 29, 30? I think we finished our discussion about that. Okay, I think the answer was yes on that one. All right, perfect. Thank you, everyone. Our study session is now adjourned, and the time is 5:18. We will have our board meeting at
What's-
6 p.m.
Jason, what's your
Good evening. The board meeting of the Aspen Peak School District Board of Education will now come to order. The time is 6:01 p.m. and all board members are present. Board Member Thieler will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, wow, this is so loud. At this time, Board Member Sparty will now offer a prayer or reverence.
Thank you. I would like to say a prayer, so thank you. Our dear Father in heaven, we are thankful to be gathered together as the Aspen Peaks Board, and we are thankful for those who are in attendance. We are grateful for the teachers and staff that we have that are supporting our board and our students, and we are thankful for the efforts that they put in every day. We ask for thy blessing as we continue to start our new school district and build it, that we can have thy help, that we can have thy guidance to make sure that we do the things that will be important so that we can reach out to all the students in our communities. And we say this in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. We now have up to 30 minutes set aside for public comment. This opportunity is for patrons living or working within the Aspen Peak School District. A sign-up sheet was available prior to this meeting, allowing up to 10 patrons the opportunity to speak. Those living outside of Aspen Peak School District and those who were unable to sign up before all slots were full can submit written comments at www.alpineschools.org/o/Aspen-Peaks-district/page/board. As you are called up, please introduce yourself by stating your name. You will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Please know that the board will be listening carefully but is not able to engage in dialogue during this portion of the meeting. They may arrange to communicate with you later. Personnel issues are not appropriate discussion items for an open meeting. If you have a personnel concern, please put your concerns in writing and address it to the Board of Education. First up is Serena Bidoff. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm just going to hold it. Hi, my name is Serena Bidoff, and I'm a Spanish teacher at American Fort Junior High. As a stakeholder in our newly forming district, I would first like to thank you for the service that you're giving to our students, parents, community, all of us. Thank you so much. Secondly, I would like to share a little perspective that I've gained over the course of my 28-year career working in 4 states and 5 school districts. My time in Alpine has been the richest and most fulfilling of my career for 3 reasons. 1, Alpine demonstrates that they believe in and value teachers. 2, Alpine prioritizes collaborative work and collective efficacy. 3, Alpine invests in quality professional development for its teachers. My hope is that Aspen Peaks District will be able to recreate Alpine's atmosphere of professional safety and validation, because I have experienced the opposite in other places that I've worked. In one district, as teachers, many times we came to work feeling physically ill because of the toxic culture that we experienced, with a lot of top-down management and so many messages of, we don't believe in you, and if the kids fail, it's on you. Even though we were all giving our very best, me working from 4 o'clock in the morning until often midnight, trying to meet my students' needs. Contrast the feelings of dread and inadequacy I had in that district to the creative fire that has been lit within me in Alpine School District. Since moving here, I have made fundamental shifts in my grading practices, had 1/6 of my level 2 students qualified to receive the Utah Seal by Literacy, received the Alpine Accident Excellence Award, helped build and lead a highly effective PLC team, presented at a state language conference, and most importantly, the message I have always wanted to send my students and them to receive from me is communicated more clearly than ever before. that I truly care for them and I will continue to show up for them until they reach their goals. What led to my sense of security and validation here in Alpine? How can Aspen Peaks nurture the kind of environment that unlocked such growth for me? I have a few recommendations. One, as soon as possible, please alleviate the stress and fear that teachers have about their job security and their family's well-being. Lock in our pay, benefits, and retirement the way that Timpanogos has done, and the collective sigh of relief in those teachers has been huge. Continue to invest in quality professional development. Every dollar you invest in us, whether in salary or in professional learning, will directly benefit our students. When you give us the fuel of growth and financial security, we light up for our students. We show up. Most teachers already have altruistic, generous hearts. You are just opening the doors more fully to that energy. And finally, as you make policy, hold the truth in your hearts that we as teachers are here for kids. We are doing our best with what we know. Send the message that you believe in us, and we will not let you down. Thank you.
Thank you. We truly appreciate your comments. The first item of routine business is the approval of minutes. We have quite a few. December 11th, the study session and public hearing. January 15th, the study session, public hearing, and board meeting. January 19th, board meeting. January 20th, board meeting. And January 26th, board meeting to appoint our superintendent. Do we have a motion?
I motion to approve the following minutes. December 11th, study session and public hearing. January 15th, study session, public hearing, board meeting. January 19th, board meeting. January 20th, board meeting. January 26th, board meeting to appoint superintendent.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
A second.
We have a motion from Board Member Burrows and a second from Board Member Bonner to approve the minutes for the December 11th study session and public hearing, the January 15th study session, public hearing, and board meeting, the January 19th board meeting, the January 20th board meeting, and the January 26th board meeting to appoint the superintendent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The voting has been unanimous. Our next item is Board Resolution 2026-001, authorizing 25 buses to be declared excess for disposition. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 2026-001?
I'll move to approve Board Resolution 2026-001, authorizing 25 buses to be declared excess for disposition.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Board Member Bonner and a second from Board Member Brammer to approve Resolution 2026-001. We will now open it up for discussion.
I just want to clarify for the public what this is about. So Alpine District has some buses that aren't really in usable condition anymore. And because we're now in the middle of the transition between Alpine and the 3 new districts, all of us have to approve to dispose of those buses. So all 3 new districts and the Alpine board all have to approve to dispose of the buses before they can be disposed of. So we're just telling them, yep, it's okay to sell those. We're probably not going to continue to not use them when we start.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing no further discussion, we will vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The voting has been unanimous. The next item is approving the Alpine School District calendar for 2027 to 2028. I'll give you a little information on that. Creating calendars is an extremely complex process, and Alpine School District formed a committee that considered numerous issues. It consisted of various stakeholders, including parents, students, and teachers. This committee recommended calendars for 3 years, 2027 to 28, 2028 to 29, and 2029 to 30. Adopting the same calendars as surrounding districts allows for coordination on many fronts. Parents and especially employees who might live in one district but work in another. We also attended a tour of MTech yesterday to see their facilities that offer so many incredible opportunities to our students. During the tour, they mentioned how helpful it is when calendars are aligned. We had a robust discussion at our last board meeting about adopting all 3 calendars. The 2027 to 28 calendar meets all of the recommendations from patron surveys and the calendar committee. Our board is in agreement to adopt this calendar, but is still taking patron input and considering some different options for 2028 to 29 and 2029 to 30. In fact, we had a discussion on that today during our study session. So tonight, we would like to approve the 2027 to 2028 calendar. Do we have a motion to approve the proposed Alpine School District calendar for 2027 to 28?
I motion that we approve the ASD calendar for 2027-28.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Board Member Thieler and a second from Board Member Hart to approve the Alpine School District calendar for 2027 to 28. We will now open it up for discussion. Hearing no discussion, we will vote.
No discussion? All right.
Did you want to? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The voting has been unanimous to approve the proposed Alpine School District calendar for 2027 to 2028. That is all of our action items, so we will now hear some board member reports. Board Member Burrows will report on the Communications Committee.
Thank you for this time. We've had some exciting things with communication. Our Facebook page hit 500 likes, I think because of you, but we appreciate that, having some form to be able to communicate that way with everyone. One of our major things right now, though, is our logo contest. It will close this Saturday morning, and we have mine says 30, around 30-ish. So hopefully some of them, we have found some kinks. We don't have a district email for students to send them to. So we've been working around that, having to use other emails to communicate and to submit work. So we've been trying to reach out to some principals to say, hey, we received the Google Doc, but we did not receive an actual logo. It might be because they try to use their school email to send it to us. So we're working through that as fast as we can before Saturday. And then we will, as a board, we will choose our finalists. And exciting, finally worked out for Adobe, there'll be a chance for our finalists to work with professionals at Adobe. They blocked out some time on Monday and Tuesday of next week, and that's why we kind of have to do it quickly so that they can work with those professionals to get them just right before they submit them to us. And then we want some public input before we ultimately decide on the winner of that. So that is my report.
Thank you. Now we will have Board Member Hart report on the Legislative Committee.
All right. So if you aren't already aware, the legislature is in session. It's legislative season. And so those of us on the legislative committee, we are just currently participating with in different ways with the legislative process, including going to or listening to the committee meetings in which they're talking about education-related legislation. We are also going tomorrow up to the Capitol to do a day on the Hill with other school districts to kind of represent our area and to make sure that our voice is able to be heard and to be a part of that entire process. And so that's the thing that part of the legislative committee we're going to continue to do is to follow those bills and keep track of what's going on and advocate for the needs of our community and for the Aspen Peak School District.
Thank you. As there is no further business, does anyone have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion from Board Member Hart and a second from Board Member Sparty to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The voting has been unanimous. We are now adjourned at 6:16 p.m. Thank you so much for attending this evening.